Shlomo, tell us a little bit about what just happened.
So today we met up with Eisheva Engel. She was a lady that we met last night on Erev Shabbat. And she was basically speaking about how she wants to bring Jews together and bring them a platform to speak. So we came in and we did a little discussion for them, and I allowed her to ask me some questions. A lot of the things that was brought up, especially last night, has to do with the conflict between religious and non-religious people in general. And for me as a religious person, I obviously want things a certain way, and the people that are not religious see it a different way. So obviously, there's this whole thing that happened last night, which you told also in a previous video, that there were Hasidim that came into an area that is not really where they live, and they started shouting Shabbos at people. I think either one is because there was a cafe that was going to be open, but it wasn't open to sell. It was open as a platform for people to speak and just hang out, which I actually wanted to go to. I think maybe that's the reason. There was an episode. There was an issue where there was a Shabbat on the railroad, where Hasidim protested it because they thought that they were going to be violating Shabbat and making the light rail open, and they didn't really get it that it wasn't that the light rail was going to be open. It's that they're going to have a Shabbat picnic out near where the light rail runs to. So that was probably a miscommunication, and that's probably what this was a miscommunication. And I feel that there are people who like to provoke both sides. There are secular people that want to provoke religious people. There's religious people that want to provoke non-religious people.
So one thing that I got, at least from somebody there that was not Jewish and saw what was going on, he said he couldn't understand why a bunch of Jewish residents living, why are they so affected by desecration of Shabbat in what he views to be like the public sphere of Jerusalem, which he said, isn't Israel like a free country of freedom of religion? So why do they have to be bothered by a desecration of the Sabbath, the Jewish Sabbath, in the public sphere?
So, speaking from a religious point of view, obviously, someone who violates Shabbat affects all of people who are Jewish and affects the world. We believe that every single good deed we do affects the world positively, and every bad deed we do affects it negatively. So, for example, if someone were to violate Shabbat, it could, obviously this is a theological thing. People don't always believe this, but I definitely take this as one of my beliefs, is that, let's say somebody violates Shabbat, it could lead to a car accident, it could lead to a death, it could lead to negative things that physically affect Israel. And that's what people who are not religious don't seem to understand. And obviously it's a little difficult because I can't go up and
that's Israel for you guys, but by the way,
I can't tell people what they think. I can't tell people what they should and shouldn't do, because we don't live in a time where we have the Shekhinah with us, or divine presence that dwells with us every day. So we live in a very different society. We live in a Western society, and there's no place for me to tell anyone how to live their life. But on the other hand, it would be very nice if cars didn't work on, weren't driving on Shabbat. And, religion out of it, we live in Jerusalem. I don't live in Jerusalem, but you do. And I used to live in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mostly a religious city. And, if you like it, okay. If you don't like it and you don't like the way that things are run here, there's other places for you to go. Tel Aviv is a very secular city. They have public transport on Shabbat. You want to break Shabbat and go to.
Are you saying there's no public transportation in Jerusalem on Shabbat?
There is no public transportation in Jerusalem on Shabbat.
Wow.
Eget does not work on Shabbat, which I prefer that, and most residents in Jerusalem prefer that. We live in a democratic country where the majority rules. They've tried before to open up non-kosher restaurants in Jerusalem, and they failed.
But there are non-kosher restaurants in Jerusalem, are there not?
They're very few. They don't survive long. If you remember, there was.
And why do they not survive?
because the characteristic of Jerusalem is a very religious city. You know, most of Jerusalem, about half, is ultra-Orthodox. And about another 30 to 40% are national religious, mixed with, very traditional Jews. And then you have a very small percentage of people who are either children of people who were religious, who went off the derech per se, and are not religious and live here, or they were people who were from Tel Aviv or from other parts of the country where majority are not religious, and they come here to work after the army because a lot of security jobs are here that pay very well. So a lot of those people come to live here. So that's pretty much one of the reasons that there's a little bit of tension when it comes to the issue of Shabbat, when it comes to the issue of having things open or closed on Shabbat. But for my own sake, I'm a religious person, and I don't know about you, but I prefer things closed on Shabbat. I prefer the sanctity of Shabbat be kept by the city, and if there's any law that they try to change the way things are, I will obviously oppose it.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that, Shlomo.
So there's something else I just want to add, is a lot of people, they ask, what's the point of Shabbat? What's the point of being so religious? If I can be religious in my own way, and I can be Jewish my own way, why do I have to do everything that the Torah tells me? So the way I see it like this, it's very simple. Okay, it's not something so complicated. It's that God gave us instructions to live our lives, and those instructions are vital to living a life with God. Now, when someone doesn't follow those, the connection with God gets cut off. Now, being Jewish is not something easy. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of dedication, and I feel like most Orthodox people don't follow real Orthodox Judaism. They follow lazy Orthodox, and I think we're all
guilty of that.
Guilty of that. I can tell you I'm guilty of it. I don't always wake up for a morning prayer. Sometimes I don't always pray when I should. Sometimes I don't really learn, and I don't work on myself like I should. And that's really it. I think most of us are mostly lazy Orthodox. Yeah. And that's really something we have to work on. But when it comes to keeping Torah, the difference is that the Torah kept us as a nation, kept us as a people together. And without the Torah, without mitzvahs, we are not able to continue to be Jewish. If you look at every single group of people that went off of Torah, their descendants are no longer Jewish. They were the people who left Spain and went to go live in Mexico to run the Inquisition, or Peru. Their descendants are not Jewish today because they went away from the Torah. The ones who kept Torah, their descendants are Jewish today, and that's what happens. The way I see it, it's like an apple pie. Okay, someone likes this big apple pie. They taste it. They say, "This is really, really delicious. I want the recipe." So they look at the recipe, and they look at the recipe and say, "This is really good, but I don't like cauliflower, so I'm going to take that out." Then they look at another thing and say, "I don't like this kind of flour. I'm going to switch to flour." Then when they make the cake, it doesn't taste the way it tasted before, and they get really upset by that, and they don't like it. So then they just abandon the cake the whole way. I think it's the same thing with Judaism. If you started pick and choose what you like, you don't get the same result, and then you also end up throwing it away.